We take you to your breaking news. The National Prosecuting Authority has withdrawn racketeering charges against former KwaZulu-Natal prosecutions boss Johan Booysen and his co-accused. We're joined on the line by National Prosecuting Authority spokesperson Bulelwa Makeke. Bulelwa, good morning to you and thank you for joining us. You've decided to withdraw these racketeering charges against former KwaZulu-Natal Hawks head Johan Booysen and others. What was the motive behind this withdrawal?
I'm sorry, what is that?
What was the motive, the reason behind the withdrawal?
Oh, the reason behind. The national director had to consider the matter because there is a high court application by General Booysen and the other accused challenging the authorization of those racketeering charges and wanting them to be set aside. So for the national director to be able to take a position on behalf of the NPA, she had to satisfy herself in terms of whether or not those authorizations are valid.
Now, the charges will be withdrawn, but we know that there are other outstanding charges like murder, housebreaking and theft. What will happen to that batch of charges?
And that is really very important for us because then people need to know that this doesn't close the chapter at all. The national director is referring all the dockets back to the acting DPP, DPP's Director of Public Prosecutions in KwaZulu-Natal, to look at all the dockets, to reassess the evidence that's contained therein, to make sure that if there's any accountability by the police in those cases are tried in court.
Just to find some context, just to talk us through what exactly the impact of these withdrawal of charges will be. Are you anticipating any sort of other outcome?
Well, you know, the outcome is dependent on what the prosecutors have before them, which is why now the Director of Public Prosecutions in KwaZulu-Natal must look at the docket again and, you know, reassess everything that's in there in respect of each and every one of the accused and make sure that where there is evidence, then they are charged and they're held accountable.
So essentially, are you saying that when it comes to those allegations that were linked to the death squad, Booysen has now been cleared?
Only of the racketeering charges. This communication is with respect to the racketeering charges.
Thank you so much.
All the other predicate offenses are still standing. And because what you need to understand is because there were these high court challenges about the authorization of the racketeering charges, it sort of put a stop to everything else because then we had to deal with this on the sideline with all these challenges. So now that takes that away, that indeed the racketeering charges are off, but all the other charges must still stand and must still be considered in the normal course that they would have, you know.
And lastly, before we let you go, I want us to go back again to the process and the layers that resulted in this final decision for this unanimous outcome to be made, to be heard. What exactly did that process entail?
The process entailed the national director putting together a panel of internal people, but completely independent of the previous matters. So she put together two directors of public prosecution, Advocate Rodney de Kock, the DPP for Western Cape, and Advocate Ivy Tenga, DPP for Limpopo. And further asked for the Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions, Advocate Sharon Riley, and the Senior State Advocate Elijah Mamabulo. These two, the latter two, are part of the organized crime component in the NPA, and they have particular expertise in racketeering prostitution.
Thank you so much for that brief outcome there from the NPA spokesperson, Bulelwa Makeke, just giving us more clarity on the breaking news. Racketeering charges have been withdrawn against former Hawks head Johan Booysen, but the other charges still remain, and those will be investigated thoroughly, as you've heard from Bulelwa from the